Now, if you were to ask somebody on the far left why they hate the Jews, they would probably tell you something like this. I hate the Jews, or the Jews are worthy of hatred because, well, they're white. Therefore, they are colonizers. They are oppressors. They are responsible for all the great atrocities across the black and brown world. And if you were to go all the way to the far right of the right and ask them, why do you believe that Jews are hated? They would tell you that, well, they're worthy of our hatred because they run the banking systems, they run our politicians, they run media, they run all global institutions. The Jews control the world, and they do so with malice in their hearts. They are evil dictators in the shadows. Therefore, they are deserving of our hatred. Now, when we get somewhere in the middle, in the world of rationale, in the world of thinking for ourselves, and more so seeing human nature for what it truly is, we start to realize that maybe, just maybe, this hatred has little to do with who these people are, and instead what they represent to us as individuals, right? Because when you go far left and when you go far right, you're really getting the same thing, two sides of the same coin, just expressed in a different way. What we're getting is what our good brother, Dr. Thomas Sowell, would call, well, let's go ahead and let him speak for himself, and then we're going to break this down. So, sit back, relax. Today, we're going all the way in. I don't know how long this video is going to be, but we are breaking things down. So you go ahead and get yourself situated, get yourself some H to the Izzo, stay hydrated, stay healthy, and let's get into it.
Where does the hatred for the Jews come from in history?
Number of places, but they are people who have succeeded an awful lot in the midst of other people who have not. Years ago, one official of one of the Jewish organizations in New York asked me, well, what can Jews themselves do in order to minimize the hostility they face? I gave him a one-word answer: fail. Because as long as you succeed, you're going to be hated.
Fail. Hatred towards Jews has almost nothing to do with Jews. And how do I know this? Because in my own personal experience, when I have succeeded where others around me may have failed, I've experienced the very same sort of animus, the very same sort of, dare I say, jealousy, definitely envy, right? And how I've known to kind of classify the two, or differentiate the two, is envy is when you see something you desire and you want that thing. You want what somebody else has. I wish I had that life. If only I had. Must be nice. Jealousy is, I wish you didn't have what you have. I am triggered by seeing you experiencing something or having something, and I wish that I could take that away from you. You know, there was a study that was done. It was actually, I guess, a survey of sorts. And the question was asked, would you rather have $500 and your neighbor have $500 just for nothing, just given to you? Or would you rather have $600 and your neighbor gets $800? Do you know the most frequently chosen answer amongst every demographic? I would rather have 500 and they have 500 instead of me having 600, $100 more, and them having 800, because I want it to be quote unquote fair. I want it to be fair. That sort of belief system or that sort of perspective is rooted in envy. Now, the Jewish people have been an easy scapegoat throughout history, right? It's easy to bully the little guy. It's much easier to bully the little guy when you see the little guy doing well, succeeding, right? So when he is weak, he is beaten down, downtrodden, it's easy to pick on him. And then on the other side, because obviously that makes you feel good about yourself, I guess. And then on the other side, when you now see him rising up, the only way you can feel better about yourself is to bring him down. But this phenomenon is not just seen again at this macro level. It's really an individual thing. At the micro, it's about envy at the personal level. You could look at the same dynamic in a household. If everybody in a house grew up poor and one of the siblings, one of the kids become successful, financially successful. Maybe they go out into the world, they build something, they do something, they become a performer of sorts. Almost every time, the greatest level of envy and jealousy is going to come from within that household, the ones who are the closest in proximity to them, the ones who are able to see the success. And I've seen this dynamic playing out where people will literally say, well, they must have used witchcraft. They must be doing illegal things, etc. When they saw the person working hard, staying up, not sleeping. There are people who have watched me from the beginning of my channel when there was 1,000 people here, 3,000, 8,000, 10,000. And now here we are. We've reached, 100K plus. And they still, and I seen this in my comments at one point. This is inorganic growth. This is bots. All these people are bots. And I'm like, go ahead and tell the people that they're bots. Go ahead and tell my people that they're bots. But again, they can't, even though they've been followed, they can't fathom that this person who I might have seen as the same level as me is now rising higher than me. And as humans, we have this comparative nature. And again, it can serve us well when we're using this as a means for inspiration. You see something, you're inspired. That's a beautiful thing. I love your success for you, and I know I can do the same for me. It's something entirely different when you get in the realm of, well, they're succeeding, but their succeeding means I don't get that success. There's a lesser of the pie for me. The zero-sum game that's oftentimes played by people. In the space that I'm in, there's people who have done things out of jealousy, and you can see it clear when you see, when you have that level of discernment in you to really see it for what it is. It's not just them hating for hating's sake. Oftentimes it is because it is envy. That's why you never get somebody doing it who is, at a higher platform than you, oftentimes at least. Unless they're threatened that you're, going to meet them up or whatever. But something that I've seen time and time again is this. They will target you. They will look to discredit you. And their end game is because they believe they can't succeed. They can't achieve. They're dealing with their own levels of low self-esteem. That the best way to raise their platform is to bring you down. You've likely seen this in your own life in different respects. Financial is one of the easiest and yet the most triggering for most people. To see somebody financially successful when you feel like you can't ever get there, you're just barely getting by, whatever, it can bring up a deep-rooted envy, or even step into the world of jealousy, and then worse off into downright hatred of these people. At an individual level, you can be losing weight. All your friends are big. At first, maybe you were the biggest one in the group and it was all good. And, nobody was triggered. Nobody's insecurities were flaring up because you made them feel good about themselves. They felt better than you. And so they perpetuate that very same cycle. I mean, within the midst of each other, of course, you're all enabling one another. Then you start to break free from that mentality and think to yourself, maybe I can do better. My kids need me, right? I want to live long enough to see my grandkids, whatever the motivation may be for you. I want to feel better. I want to look better. Damn it, I just want to look better. And so you start to make different decisions. You start to cut those sugars, cut those carbs. You start to go in the gym, be active. You start to get the adequate sleep necessary. You start to taper down on all those stressors in your life, etc. You start to do better for yourself, and the results are kicking in a little bit. Now, at first, before you have these drastic changes, people around you may celebrate you, or they may claim to celebrate you, right? Oh, wow, that's so good. Yes, girl, me too. I would love to do that. We should all do it together. Let's go to the gym together. Now you're actually going to the gym. And they're still going to the club, the bar, whatever it is. They calling you up for mimosas in the daytime and more drinks at the night. And you got to go to sleep. You got a gym session at 7:30 a.m. You're trying to get to the gym before you get to the job. And they're over here trying to get into some gin and juice before they get into the job. Now you're making different decisions. You're getting different outcomes. Do you know what's the most likely thing to happen? Unfortunately, as heartbreaking as this is, you're going to have the people around you who you called sisters, brothers, whatever, people that you so-called loved. They're going to start looking at you sideways. All of a sudden, they start treating you different. And for some who express this in the most honest way, there's going to be jealousy. And how that expresses is they're going to try to bring you down. Girl, you ain't no fun. You just don't go out no more. What's up with you nowadays? Or they may distance themselves from you and start talking about you. Now you become the subject of their gossip. Or even the worst off is they look to actively sabotage you. Some people are really this psychopathic that they will, they'll go out of their way trying to do things. But in most cases, it is the subtle, coverted version of it. So when we look at the question of the Jew and the hatred towards this group of people, ironically, it's like if you look at it as a whole, most Jewish people, like most group of any people, are not multimillionaires and, entrepreneurs, business owners owning banks, etc. Some are barely getting by. Some are paycheck to paycheck. Many are living in the most meager sort of existence that you could imagine. Some in poverty, destitute. But again, as humans, we look to simplify things, anthropomorphize, I guess. We look to make this caricature of things so it's easier to point blame. If you make that person an actual human, it's harder to say this group of people is doing this to us. So let's get one step deeper into this, right? Which is the one that I've been seeing the most when it comes to those I actually believe were, more conservative value holding people, those who even claim to be, whether it's Christian or, right leaning, more hopefully logically based. Now they're getting deeper and deeper into the conspiratorial realm of they rule the world. They control outcomes. The reason why that is so effective as an antidote to your own, or as a coping measure for your own envy, is because it absolves you completely. It's the same thing they're doing on the left. It's no different. Blaming the white man for all the injustice. Blaming the white man for why the black man is not able to come up. The brown man is not able to come up. Imagine that. I've done several videos just pointing this contradiction out, but it's like, why are Africans unable to succeed? It's because the white man came in and took our stuff or colonized. Why can't the African man succeed? Because the white man left. Wait, so the white man comes and he's the problem. The white man goes and he's the problem. Where are you in that equation? Where are you in that equation? So now we go to that again, more far right. And there are those on the left. Again, I'm generalizing here. But when you start getting into the territory of they control the world, they control the world. Some people claim that, they're just curious. They're just stating facts. They're just noticing, right? That sort of thing. Here's the thing. Anything that we give ourselves to as humans, it's because there's a purpose. It's serving something. Oftentimes it's an emotional, quote unquote, need that we're fulfilling. Right? There's something there emotionally that we're resonant with. And oftentimes it's not things that are best for us. It's just what's most comfortable or what is most familiar. So sometimes we're addicted to the negative emotions. We're addicted to, low self-esteem. We're addicted to feelings of inadequacy or whatever it is until we break those cycles consciously. But when somebody is buying into this narrative and they believe themselves to be on this right path, I'm just noticing, I'm just seeing things for what they truly are, but the world is controlled. To that, I say, okay, so let's say that there's 10 families. They're controlling the whole world. Every single bank is owned. What does that mean about you and your own personal life? I always bring it back to the individual. What does that mean about you? And an honest person will say, well, I feel like I can't do anything. I'm stuck. The system is against me. Now we can start. So now I can say, okay, so are you able to, let's say, when it comes to your body, are you able to change the configuration of your body, the composition of your body? Are you able to lose weight or lose fat, burn fat? Are you able to do that? Most people would say, yes, I can. And I'll say, fantastic. How would you do that? And then they might, well, I got to, stop eating these things. Again, this is an honest person, right? I got to stop eating certain foods. I got to start, doing less of this, more of this. I got to, get a better sleep, etc. Okay, fantastic. Are those things that are being controlled by external factors or internal factors? This is where you get a little pushback, a little resistance, but sure enough, we'll get back to, well, an honest person will say, well, I can control those things. I am, putting foods into my mouth that are no good for me. I am doing that. I am telling myself I'm going to go to the gym, but I won't, etc. Okay, fantastic. Now we can work. Now we can get to what are the belief systems you're holding on to. Now we can get to, what do you believe about the world around you as well as the world within you that is stopping you? Some people keep the weight on because it's a protective mechanism. They don't want to be seen because maybe there was some sort of traumatic experience in childhood or several experiences where being seen was dangerous, and therefore they put on this layer. I know, again, it can get real deep, but at least now we can work with that because you're being honest that it is a personal thing. You ask the next man now, let's get into financial realm, which is the one that most people dig into. It's always the banking. They control the, this and this institution. So, okay. Let's actually start off at ground zero here. The job that you have right now, who sent the resume? For most people, it was themselves, right? Better yet, who interviewed for the job? Who desired the job? For whatever reason, who was the one who initiated that job? Most people say, well, that was obviously me, right? Okay, so you chose the job, right? Well, yeah, I chose it, but I didn't really choose it. No. You chose the job. Yeah, maybe it was based off of, that's what you qualified for. Maybe you didn't have certain other skill sets. So there's the one, maybe you were in desperate need of that cash, right? But you still chose the job. You chose the job. Okay, fantastic. We got that out the way. So the money that you're making from that job, is that what you were told that you would be making from that job? Well, yeah, but it's not enough for my rent. No. Is this the amount of money that you were told you were going to get at the job? Well, yes, but no buts. Yes or no? Yes, it was the amount of money. Okay, fantastic. So you chose the job and you knew what the expectation was, or you knew what to expect from the job as far as compensation, right? Okay, fantastic. So you're making X amount of money from a job that you chose. You're making money that you chose from the job that you chose. Now, you don't believe it's enough. What do we do about that? Well, the system's unfair. No. What do we do about that? Is it possible to get a better paying job? Yes, it is. How do you do that? Well, it's hard for a black man. Well, the Jews. How do you get a better job? This is how you reason through things, right? We're going through a little crash course of just digging to the actual core of a matter. And I've had real conversations like this, as you can tell, right? You got to break through these people arguing for their own limitations all the time. But I've stopped doing that because when it's all said and done, if you don't want to change, you won't, right? So anyway, we're now at a place of, okay, yeah, you can get a better job. You can get a better job. You can choose to. So the Jew is out the way. The white man, whatever, that's out the way, right? Systemic, that's out the way. You can get a better job. Maybe you don't live in a country which has it. Fantastic. Can you leave your country to go to another country that affords you the opportunity? Well, yes, but, you can. It might be difficult. It might be taxing. You might have to do different things. But it's possible. The possibility is all we need. You being able to do the certain thing is all we need. It is going to be it is going to be challenging. It's going to be, difficult. It's going to be this. It might be taxing. You're going to have to learn new things. You're going to have to rewire your belief system. Yes, but you can still do something about it. And I'm getting somewhere with this. So you can upgrade your skill set. You can start to do things that the marketplace values more. Well, it's not fair because teachers should make as much as NBA players. That sounds good in theory, but the marketplace is choosing the amount of money that should go to these individuals. And the marketplace is you and I oftentimes. There's more people who are willing to pay more to watch an NBA game than they are for the teacher in education. You can look at that however you want, Now, one teacher is going to say, you know what? I don't get paid enough as a teacher, but I love to teach. I want to do this. And then they create Khan Academy, right? They do something. They create, something that they can leverage that then creates more of a financial, a financial outcome for them. But that was a choice that they made. Most people would just sit back and complain, right? That's the easiest thing to do, or blame, right? The Jew, the white man, whoever, the superintendent. So what is the difference between, well, yes, I can do that thing, it's just difficult, and not doing that thing? And to me, I say it's simple. It's a choice. There are those who choose to do the hard and difficult things and get those results. And sometimes you find these becoming staples in the culture. I've told this story before, but when I used to be in a lot of coffee shops, and I used to do a lot of my work out of a coffee shop, editing or writing and things of that nature, I would almost exclusively, and yes, this was the Bay Area in California, but I would almost exclusively see Indian students in the coffee shop late nights, whether it was a weekday or a weekend, right? There's something there culturally about, and they're studying a lot of the same subjects, medicine and engineering, etc. I saw a lot of medicine. So you can look at them in the long run and say, well, look how many Indian doctors there are in California. It's disproportionate how many Indian doctors there are. It's unfair. They control medicine. Or you could say, which is the reality, is this is something that they prioritize. It's something they work towards, as difficult as it may be, as challenging and taxing as it may be. You can say whatever you want. Well, those kids don't get to live a life. You can say whatever you want. The end game is they become high earners in their careers and their professions. But again, it's always easier to dip into the conspiracy of things. It allows for a comfortable place to hide. How do the Jews get acceptance from all these people? How do they stop being hated? Stop winning, stop succeeding at quote unquote disproportionate numbers. Imagine if, it's like the same thing when it came to athletics and Black Americans. There's nobody at a per capita or at a percentage basis. There is nobody who is outdoing Black folks in the NBA and the NFL. The numbers are just there. I'm not saying there aren't better players, right? You have Jokic, you have, all the way down to Larry Bird, some of the greatest of all time. But when you look at the numbers, yet some reason we don't hear this thing of, well, there's lack of representation in this space. There must be a global conspiracy of the Black man in sports. No, we're able to acknowledge that these are people who prioritize this. These are people who are damn near, breeding for this. And yes, there's people out there who think to themselves, I want to find a wife who's X, Y, and Z so I can make some athlete babies. Don't look at me crazy. Some of y'all might have thought the same thing, my athletes out there. So when you prioritize those things and you push those in the household and you make a culture of those things, that becomes normalized. Banking. Do you think banks just sprouted out of the ground? How do you have a group of people who disproportionately are in a certain industry? It's because that's what they prioritized. That's what they prioritize. But again, it's much easier. Instead of going in the nuance of these people are migrating, they're dispersed, they have their own diaspora per se, and they find themselves in places where they're getting the low, meager jobs and they're looking for ways to rise up as a people. How can we do the absolute most with the little that we have? How do we, create a system of trust? We have to create our own banking institution. So, this man we entrust with keeping our money, this person we trust with this part of our business, this person we trust with our law, this person we trust with this. And now that becomes culturally accepted. Why are there so many Jewish lawyers? Because that's an industry that they went into. They prioritized. They said, we got to be able to defend ourselves, to stand up for ourselves. That was prioritized. And they did exactly that. Again, as degenerate as much of Hollywood's messaging is in this present day, it's easy to say, well, look, the Jews control Hollywood. They created it. They created the industry. They were looking to get their own message out. I would actually start taking notes if I was anybody else. to say, maybe, just maybe we can learn from that. Maybe we can learn from that. I look at the Chinese, Japanese, Koreans, etc. back in the Bay Area, Indians, and I learn from them. I take notes from them. I say, man, these people work their asses off. Man, these people will study. Like, if I dedicate myself to my craft as much as they do to what they're doing, do you understand the level of results I would get? Maybe not tomorrow, maybe not the next day, but damn it, one day. One day. They showed me what it looks like to be diligent in your work. You know, there are folks who, again, they will see me here on a daily basis, sometimes, you know, for months on end, putting out 3 videos a day, sometimes 4 videos in a day. I continue to use my gift and put it out there and hopefully create more and more value out in the world. And there will be people who look at me on the other side of the result and say, he was lucky. They'll see that I have 1,900 videos out right now. 1,900 of these videos out. In the span of maybe 2 years? 3 years? Barely. Only really started going in about a year or so ago, but I doggedly gave my entire self to this. And I do my best to do that every day. And somebody on the other side says, that's valuable. I'm willing to trade value for value. No, it's easier to be the barista and to point up to the ivory tower and say, look at that mean old evil Howard Schultz. Look at him. Now, well, yeah, we're going to just zoom in on him. Look at him. Taking all of our money. Do you understand that that man sacrificed everything? I want y'all don't even have to read the book. Just go ahead and watch the documentary series or just watch the doc on the man's life and see what he gave up for that damn cup of coffee. Well, he was privileged. No, he grew up in poverty. He built his way up. He was a door-to-door salesman. He was a door-to-door marketer. He built his way up in the same Ray Kroc, who eventually, you know, purchased McDonald's from the McDonald's brothers and built it into what it is now. Built his way up. No, well, but his white privilege. Where was his white privilege when he was struggling? When 10 years in a row, nothing was happening. It's much easier to cop out. It's much easier to scapegoat. And there will be people who hear this entire message right now and still hold on to excuse. And to that I say, if that's what you choose, then I hope you're ready for the outcomes that you get from that choice. I'm not willing to live in a body that is obese. I do things that some people would think are insane. I've cut out carbs and sugar. 100%. Because I want to feel the very best that I can. I don't want inflammation. I don't want the chronic ailments. I don't want autoimmune. I don't. And so I make the harder choices on the other side. I don't want poverty. And so I make different choices on the other side. Learn how money works. Learn, how to invest my money, where to park it and where not. Don't be a lottery ticket, buyer. Don't live life as one big lotto to hit. How do I use what I've been given to do the absolute best? I don't give a damn about the world of finance like that, except for, personal and family finances and, of course, my own business finances. But I'm not a numbers guy in that way. But I could look at other numbers people say, oh, well, they were lucky. They're numbers people, so they're going to be rich. Do you know how many people are doing things that have no relationship to that world that are making significant amounts of money? You can point to anything. Anything is now an industry. But again, the difference is, are you going to make the hard choices necessary to get the easier life, quote unquote? Or are you going to try to live this easy life and get the hardships on the other side? My pops always told me this, and it will be my closing statement for now. In life, you're always going to pay a price. The difference is, are you going to pay now or are you going to pay later? I just chose to pay now. The people like generalized, the Jewish people, quote unquote, Chinese Americans, Indian Americans, the ones who are doing the best disproportionately, they chose to pay now as opposed to paying later. Appreciate you guys for tuning in. Now, if you'd like to stay around, make sure to click that little subscribe button down there, or you can show some love by going to the description below and clicking on the button titled Buy Me a Coffee. Leave a little something there, or click on the Cash App. Leave a little something here. Till the next time, peace. Aquarius. Where?
I've been up for hours, I've been up for days, you staring at the ceiling, I've been counting strays, you I've been in my feelings, I've been out of mind, I've been getting visions of the other kind. Yeah, I've been up for weeks, I'm in the counting blessings over counting sheep. I can never be the type to limit when it comes to me. I used to be the pleaser for the people I ain't even need.